Hello lads, last season those of unspecified gender, it's the Irishman here, and today I'm going to be talking about what would have happened if Goku was born with immortality. This is the second part to this what if, and if you have not already seen the first part, I would greatly recommend you go check that video out before coming back to this one. And now, without further ado, let's get into the story of this what if. Goku has just defeated Frieza after obtaining the Super Saiyan transformation. This legendary form gave him the strength he needed to defeat the Space Emperor, as well as some much needed Zenkais, but the Super Saiyan transformation is really the straw that broke the camel's back. Now Frieza, dead in a heap with no real parts remaining, would then just kind of fade into nothingness, being nothing more than dust scattered around the air of the still very much alive planet Namek. Namek would still have survived here because Frieza didn't actually make it to the point where he would be able to destroy it. So now all they need to do is have Shinron resurrect everyone killed by Frieza and his men, therefore reviving all the Namekians, and then they can use Parunka to wish back everyone they need to wish back. There really is no need for the new Namek to be created. Maybe the Namekians would want to relocate their planet using the dragonballz later on, but right now the final wish would be used to revive Chaozu, the only person who could not be brought back from using the Earth's dragonballs, as he had already been brought back once before. Then the team would go home, their mission having been complete. Sadly, there would be no trip to Yardrat, as they wouldn't be taking the Ginyu's pods, therefore meaning that there was no way for them to actually have Yardrat come up on their radar. Yeah, sure, they might see it along the way, but it'd be more of a cool planet out in space than an actual destination for the group. So now, once actually arriving back on Earth, about a year and a half to 2 years would pass, wherein the time traveler from the future would arrive. Now, I'm pretty sure this is where we actually ended things off in the last part, but I felt it'd be nice to give a little recap. I haven't really been able to upload much, so I thought this would be nice. Now, actually getting into the future Trunks portion of this what if, we would see him, well, kind of just giving the same spiel he did before. Heart medication, androids, and all the other deadly things to soon come. Now, once the androids actually do arrive, it would turn out that Android 19 and 20, or Android 19 and Dr. Gero, are actually not that big of a threat. Now, you might be thinking I'm going to say that the heart virus is no problem for Goku, either because he's immortal, or because he didn't go to Yardrat, but both of those reasons are complete bullcrap, and therefore don't really matter. Now, for the first part, yes, Goku is immortal. He can't die from the heart virus, but that doesn't exactly mean that he isn't affected by it. He is still very much affected and therefore would be put out of commission for the next few hours or days, however long the beginning parts of the Android Saga take. Now, this is of course not a very good thing, but also not an entirely groundbreaking thing to happen, as Vegeta is still more than enough to take out Android 19 and hunt down 20. Now, the story actually goes mostly the same up until the point where Goku actually gets out of his virus-induced coma, which would only last a few hours, maybe a few days at most. Goku would still tell the group that the Room of Spirit and Time is a very versatile tool they should use to train and get stronger than the androids. So, they would. Trunks and Vegeta would be the first to go in, and they would get incredibly powerful. Goku and Gohan wait on the outside, and it turns out that Vegeta and Trunks are actually getting a lot stronger than before. But not because of some new element to the story that allows them to grow so much stronger, but mostly because of their willpower. Vegeta would realize that Goku has immortality, which is an unfair advantage, and therefore pushes him much farther than the rest of the group. So Vegeta decides to do what Vegeta does, brute force his way through the problem and force himself to get strong enough to break that gap. And then, this is what Vegeta would do. Him and Trunks would master the Super Saiyan form to the same degree Goku and Gohan did in the Cell games, and they would get to roughly the same power as those two. Goku, of course, being Vegeta, and Gohan being Trunks. although without the hidden rage boiling down in there with Trunks. They would be on the verge of Super Saiyan 2, but neither would actually be able to unlock it. They can tell there's something there past the wall of Super Saiyan, they just can't quite tap into it yet. So it is mostly undiscovered, but it really doesn't need to be there. At least, not right now, as Vegeta and Trunks as it is are far, far more powerful than Semi-Perfect Cell. In fact, Vegeta actually ends up getting so bored when fighting the bio-android, he just flat out kills him, or at least thinks he does. Cell would still have all of the cells of Goku, meaning he is still immortal. You could argue that since Cell comes from a different timeline, maybe the Goku from that timeline didn't become immortal, therefore Cell shouldn't have those cells, but even if you want to say that, which is a bit of a weird thing to suggest, seeing as this Cell should still be from a different timeline that takes in the idea of this what if, Cell would probably be able to get Goku's immortality after absorbing Android 17, who would have known about Goku's immortality because of Dr. Gero, and therefore adapting to this new timeline and, therefore, having immortality. Cell would then get a massive Zenkai boost as well as regenerating into his perfect form. Cell is about as strong as Perfector Cell was in the main story, except a little bit weaker. He's not exactly super perfect yet, but he's close enough. And Vegeta is completely dumbfounded. So this is the perfect power Cell actually hinted at. Looks like he didn't even need the android to be able to do this, and, well, Vegeta's excited. He wants to see what this power really is and how he can test himself against it, and he would do just that. Test himself against Cell's might. And Vegeta gets absolutely manhandled, just like in the original, because this is a stronger Perfect Cell, so it doesn't really matter that it's a stronger Vegeta. So now, next we move on to the Cell games, which Cell would actually still create. Goku and Gohan, after exiting the time chamber for themselves, would be incredibly powerful, more powerful than they were in the original timeline, by a decent amount. Originally, I said I didn't want to give Gohan Goku's immortality because it was something granted to him by a wish on the Dragon Balls, and I wasn't exactly sure if that would exactly translate to a child, but hey, why not? So, let's say Gohan does have Goku's immortality. That means inside of the time chamber, the two of them would be able to train as hard as they want without even a slight amount of risk to actually killing each other. This means their training could be much more intense, and they could push themselves far beyond their limits. Now, I'm not going to say they both reach Super Saiyan 3 and become absolute gods in terms of power, no, but they would certainly get incredibly strong. Not only would Goku and Gohan be able to train as much as they want, as hard as they want, inside of the Room of Spirit and Time, they would also have more knowledge than they did in the original story of how they should evolve their Super Saiyan forms. After seeing Vegeta and Trunks, they now know what to strive for and what to surpass, and they would do just that, actually being able to reach Super Saiyan 2 in no time. But they would accept this as the form they are going to stop at. It's perfectly powerful, and they might tap into Super Saiyan 3 briefly, but would realize it's far out of their league at the moment. Now, technically, it's not, because they could just go into Super Saiyan 3, die because of energy loss, and then be revived because of their immortality, and then probably have all the kinks of Super Saiyan 3 just completely gone. But I'm not doing that, so moving on to the actual Cell games, Goku and Gohan would continue relaxing for those 10 days, and when the Cell games actually do arrive, well, they would have no problem dealing with Cell, at least at first. Goku would spar with Cell just like in the original, going toe-to-toe with the monster, but it turns out that Goku is actually stronger than the Bugman, or at least he thinks. Goku would remain in Super Saiyan and Cell is being slightly outclassed, but then Cell would demonstrate his Super Perfector power. And although Goku is certainly impressed by this, it's not something special. He would then go into Super Saiyan 2, and Cell is once again outclassed, but by a much larger margin this time. Goku would outclass Cell at every different angle. There's nothing the Bugman can do, and he's fearing his own death. So, what is a Cell to do here? well, self-destruct himself. Not only would he be able to survive this and gain a Zenkai boost because of it, but he would also be able to fight against Goku forever. Because Goku would survive because of this. Everyone else, they don't matter. They never mattered to Cell. Goku is the only person who was ever actually capable of giving Cell the fight he wanted. Yeah, sure, Gohan in the original was the one to kill him, but Cell never wanted to fight Gohan. He was designed to fight Goku, and that is what Cell is going to do. So, he powers up into his big, bulky, self-destruct mode, and this is inside of his perfect form. And Goku, seeing this and being informed of everything that's going on, by Cell, of course, he'd be monologuing, would decide that there's only one way to stop this. But it's not instant transmission. Goku doesn't have that, so King Kai gets to survive. But what does Goku do? Well, he simply hurls Cell into the stratosphere, tackling him into deep space so fast that although Cell would explode mid-impact, he would still actually be far enough away from our solar system that it should be fine. Now you might be wondering, does Goku have these sort of speed feats, to where his travel speed is great enough to move outside of our solar system in about 3 seconds? Honestly, I don't think he does. I think he is certainly fast enough to do this, but I don't really have any proof, so in case this is just too absurd, I'd like you to suspend your disbelief for a moment. Now, moving on, Cell would regenerate, getting even more powerful with his Zenkai as well as his immortality, pushing him to a completely different level. And now, well, Goku would have the same thing happen to him. He would be blown up in Cell's explosion, and he would also get a Zenkai, which, granted, Cell expected, but he also knew wouldn't even compare to the ones Cell would get himself. See, Goku never really risked his own death by doing this. It would certainly have killed him in the sense that it would kill him if he didn't have his immortality, but Goku knew he had his immortality. His body knew he had his immortality. It's not like Goku is weaker than Cell to where Cell's an actual threat to him. No. So Cell, who was weaker than Goku and faced an actual threat in this battle, would get a bigger Zenkai since he was at actual risk of death, or at least supposedly. This would mean that Cell would now be even stronger than Goku, or at least on a more even playing field than what he was before. And honestly, I think Goku still stands a pretty good chance. Seeing as both have immortality and both can keep fighting forever, neither can really lose this battle, or at least not very easily. But they can certainly still find a way to pull out a victory. Whether that means actually killing the other person is on the table or not, of course it's not. They are both immortal. They have to find another way to beat them, but I think Goku can do it. In fact, I think Goku has more ways than Cell. See, Goku could just telepathically talk to someone on Earth, asking them to get the Dragon Balls and wish away Cell's immortality. That way, poof, Cell can be killed now. And Cell wouldn't be able to actually tell this is happening. So, this is one way Goku pulls out the victory. Although, the way I would prefer to say this happens is the Mafuba. Now, would Goku know it by this point? Given what we've seen in canon? No, he wouldn't. But he should. And now hear me out. Roshi should have taught Goku the Mafuba. Roshi probably already taught Goku most of his moves. We know that Goku was very eager to learn any sort of new abilities Roshi had, so even something like the Mafuba, which was incredibly powerful, well, I think Goku would want to learn it. Even if it was just a sealing technique which would go away his actual thirst for battle, or at least deplete his thirst for battle, given the way the move works, I still feel like Goku would want to know it. It's a pretty cool move, so yeah, I think Goku would learn the Mafuba. So, now, what does he do with it? Well, he seals Cell away, relatively easily in fact. Goku would blast a hole in the center of some nearby moon and pick up an asteroid. Then, flinging it at the planet, Goku would perform the Mafuba, sealing Cell inside of the moon, and then taking that piece of the planet he had broke off and smashing it in the center as a lid. This would then mean Cell is sealed away, and then well, he's just not a threat. Now, with Cell sailed away, Goku would go back to Earth and use the Dragon Balls to wish away Cell's immortality. Before then, going back to the moon he had seal Cell away in, and then blowing it away. Completely gone, without a singular trace. He would ask for Gohan's help to do this, and seeing as Gohan would understand that Goku might not be strong enough to completely kill Cell here, he would agree. Then, with a father-son Kamehameha, Cell is promptly obliterated. Without a singular trace remaining, Goku would now be the victor of this battle, but so is Gohan, kind of. Then, everyone would go home, and for the next 7 years, everyone would train together. And they would get incredibly powerful by doing this. In fact, Goku would actually reach Super Saiyan 3 and perfect it. Because of his immortality, he really can't be stopped when it comes to any sort of power-draining effects. So Super Saiyan 3? Oh, it's super easy to learn how to control. For someone like Vegeta, it might be a bit hard, but for Goku or Gohan? Nah, barely even takes a day. Now, this doesn't mean that they are so incredibly broken nobody's a threat to them, but it does mean Goku has Super Saiyan 3, so take that as you will. Goku and Gohan would continue training more and more, and even though Gohan would stop a bit because of his studies, he would never really give it up. He would more push it to the side, balancing it better, as half the time he would spend training, the other half he would take studying. Then, for the rest of the 7 years, Gohan would kind of keep this work-life balance like he had in Super. Then, of course, the 27th Tenkaichi Budokai would roll around, and now it's time for the fights to commence. Because, of course, who doesn't love a good old tournament? And, well, frankly, it goes basically the same as in the original. Goku would still be around here. In fact, he wouldn't even have that nice looking halo above his head, and Gohan, although he is immortal, wouldn't exactly stop getting his energy drained by Pui Pui and Yakan. Nope, Spopovich and Yamu. I made that mistake last recording. Gohan would then be given a Senzu Bean by his father, before then making chase after Spopovich and Yamu, as well as the rest of the Z-Fighters. Shin would tell them they have to follow close behind, but not too close as to alert the enemy. Then, after they actually reach Babidi's ship, after a mountain of exposition, they would be told that Deborah the Demon King is going to deal with them now. Well, it's actually just a ploy to gather energy, but still. Deborah would spit on Krillin and attempt to spit on Piccolo, but given the fact that Piccolo would be a wee bit stronger here, I feel like he would actually be able to dodge it. Now, why would Piccolo be stronger? Well, because Gohan's stronger, and Gohan would probably take some time to train with Piccolo, as Piccolo and Gohan have a really nice relationship, and even if they really didn't get all that time in the Saiyan Saga, I still feel like they would have a pretty good bond. But now, with Goku enraged because of his best buddy's petrification, Goku would then launch a Ki Blast straight at Deborah, instantly killing the Demon King. Now, this is bad for Babidi because it means he really doesn't have anybody to collect energy from. Unless there is somebody he could. No, I don't mean Vegeta. He has fully grown into a good person and really doesn't care about fighting Goku. He's already done that. Yeah, sure, he kind of wants to fight him at the arena, the tournament arena. That way he can prove that the Prince of the Saiyans is really the strongest after all. But Babidi's delaying that. He has no reason to want to gain any extra power, so Vegeta's not a viable candidate. But you know who is? Kakarot. But not Goku. Kakarot. Now, this might be a bit fanfiction-y, and I know whenever I say that word it sends chills down my spine and probably shivers down yours as well, but the fact is that we're going to have to get into a little bit of fanfiction territory if we want the Buu Saga to happen. Babidi would realize that Goku's personality is split in two, but not two equal parts, rather one very large part that is always in control, and the other which lays dormant. A part of Goku that has never really been seen since he was an infant. The wish to give Goku immortality split his mind into two. Goku actually getting the head bump was to his immortal self, although Kakarot still lives on. Funnily enough, it seems that Kakarot's spirit is just as immortal as Goku's body. Therefore, now Kakarot is being awoken in Goku for the first time. Although it's not exactly Goku's body anymore. It would be split into two very mortal bodies, Goku and Kakarot. The Goku side is shocked and surprised and doesn't know what's going on, but the Kakarot side, on the other hand, is very, very pleased. For the first time in what seems like half a century, he is finally let loose, and, well, it's been like 33 years, so he's not far off. Kakarot would immediately power up into Super Saiyan 3, a form he had witnessed once before from Goku and Gohan while they were training, and now he would make it his own. He might not have the whole stamina problem completely fixed, but Goku's body was already ripe for the picking in terms of stamina control, so Super Saiyan 3 is perfectly usable for him. And then Goku, reacting quick on his feet, would do the same. Then Goku and Kakarot would continue fighting for a few minutes. Gohan would debate jumping in, but Kakarot says that if he does, he'll kill Piccolo without a second of hesitation. This is enough to allow Gohan to actually refrain from stopping this. He knows he could, probably faster than Piccolo could actually be put in any danger, but he'd rather not risk it. They have bigger and better things to worry about, such as stopping the revival of Majin Buu. But that's too late. Babidi would have already revived the pink blob, and he is out for blood. Gohan would try and stop Majin Buu with the aid of Vegeta as well as the Supreme Kai, and together they are able to quite efficiently fight him off. Although the fight in the background is still reaching a climax. But after a short time, it does indeed reach that climax, with both of the sides of the Saiyan warrior eventually powering up their own version of the Kamehameha wave, wherein Goku would have his normal holy blue colored Kamehameha, while Kakarot, on the other hand, has a crimson red beam. The two would clash, and, as you might expect, they are dead even. Although, Gohan would step in the way, getting next to his father and helping out the beam struggle. Then, with the father-son Kamehameha working in full effect, they seem to be overpowering Kakarot. But guess who is just too eager to intervene with his new servant's loss? Well, Babidi. He doesn't want it to be a loss. Kakarot is incredibly powerful and could be oh so useful in the future. And so the Bugman would decide to help out his new subordinate by having Buu go in and absolutely demolish the other side of the Saiyan, as well as his little runt. Then, the two of them, in combination, versus the father-son Kamehameha, would do wonders. It'd be a brilliant light show, an exceptional beam clash. Although, at the end of the day, Gohan, unless he actually trained his butt off over these 7 years, and, well, I doubt he would. Remember, work-life balance, not just training all the time. Gohan isn't stronger than Buu. So sadly, Kakarot actually wins. But as the beams dissipate, Kakarot wouldn't be standing there. Instead, Buu would be warping into some new, superior creation. He would become Buu-Rot. Kakao? We're just going to call him Buu for now. And Gohan, well, he would be incredibly damaged. In fact, he would be killed. Although remember, Gohan is still immortal here, so he would rise from the ashes and stand next to his father's limp and lifeless corpse. He would pick up Goku's dead body and then hold it in his arms, realizing his father, the once incredibly powerful man, the beacon of hope, was now dead. Gohan would then let out a primal rage, and although he can't gain Ultimate or Beast here as they are completely separate transformations, there is something I could see him actually attaining. Super Saiyan 4, the next evolution in the Saiyan line. Now, why would he attain Super Saiyan 4? Well, it's because it's a cool form and I like it. Other than that, are some reasons I can see this actually happening. See, for the last 7 years, Goku and Gohan could do life-threatening training like it was nothing. Granted, Gohan wouldn't be training all the time, in fact, he would still probably be a bit rusty by this point, but keep in mind, Goku and Gohan each would have mastered all 3 prior Super Saiyan transformations to their penultimate degree. This would mean that Gohan should have such great mastery over all the Super Saiyan forms, it barely even affects him anymore. Super Saiyan 3 doesn't cause him any stamina loss at all, same for Goku. But at the same time, they've mastered all the forms. They're looking for a new evolution, they just can't tap into it yet. Because, well, both the other lines of Super Saiyan transformations have special circumstances. But who's to say Gohan can't just unlock this from activating an Akari-like power that we saw with Broly and mixing it with his Super Saiyan form? Hell, Super Saiyan 3. This would lead to Gohan mixing these powers together as well as his Primal Rage, and then unlocking Super Saiyan 4. Then, as he looks on to Buu, who has just absorbed the only other part of his father that was left, Gohan would be enraged, and let out a Ma-Sen Kamehameha that would eradicate the monster. But even though Buu wouldn't have gained any sort of immortality from absorbing Kakarot, maybe partial, but nothing special, Buu would still be able to come back, because of his regeneration, which Gohan would take note of, and say that he's dealt with something similar before. He just has to make sure there's nothing left to come back from. And then, with his hands cupped, he would then power up an insanely powerful Kamehameha, which he would point in Buu's direction before seemingly teleporting in front of him and launching the attack point blank, before then rushing up into the sky and launching a Masenko, which would then eradicate every last bit of him. Then Gohan would float to the ground and see a tiny piece of Buu remaining, before then blasting it away with a simple ki blast, saying that such a monster doesn't deserve a ceremonious end, and instead should just be taken out as the garbage he is. Then Gohan would go to gather the Dragon Balls with the rest of the Z-Fighters to then revive all of those who were killed by Buu and his minions. So basically just Goku. And surprisingly, Goku would say he actually doesn't want his immortality again. Yeah, sure, it'd be pretty simple to get it back, but he just doesn't want it. Really, he doesn't need it, and he felt more alive than ever when actually fighting against Kakarot, or his other self. As for once, he was actually capable of dying. He felt most alive in this very moment, and wants to be able to have more fights like that. So, he won't wish his immortality back, at least, not yet. And that's where we're going to be leaving things off for today. I hope you enjoyed watching this, as I certainly enjoyed making it, and if you could please like the video, subscribe to the page, and hit the notification bell, that'd be very much appreciated. This is, always has been, and always will be the Irishman. Talk to you later. Bye.